Hello and welcome everyone to another edition of CTS BizTalk. I'm your usual host, Frank Stevens, and thank you again as always for joining us. I always encourage our team at CTS and even clients, everyone, give me some topics to talk about, something that's more relevant in the news, something you guys want to hear about. So today's topic is navigating your first career in tech. And my guest is a CTS member. His name is Anthony Munoz. Anthony is one of our techs on the team. He's been with us since last summer, so August of 2024. So Anthony, thanks for joining us. Thanks for the idea, and share something about yourself.
Yeah, Frank, thank you so much for having me here and for hosting this. When I pitched the idea to you, I was very excited to, have this scheduled out and to give a little bit of my side of the story, going in fresh out of college into my first role in tech. My name's Anthony, recent graduate from the University of Illinois at Chicago. Graduated this past May and with a degree in computer science. And yeah, just like talking a little bit more about that, computer science, while it is, related to like the world of IT, it definitely has its own branch that like branches off, from the main, tree of IT and just tech in general. Um, so yeah, going into college, I was a little bit unsure of like the path I wanted to pursue. Um, so I kind of just like stuck myself in computer science. And took all the courses I needed to get to my degree, even joined student organizations and spoke with software engineers at big companies, getting a day in their life, what they do, what the role entails, and found myself coming out of that still not really where I wanted to be. And that's when I started studying for the right certificates to eventually land myself my first help desk role.
Nice, nice. So even before you went into computer science at UIC, no, wait, it was UIC you went to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's double checking. For those who are not in the Chicagoland area, there's a plethora of schools, all with the three-letter acronyms, of course. So I just want to make sure. So what brought you into computer science? You're in high school. Prior to going to school, what brought you into computer science? Because I think what a lot of listeners want to know is, especially my kids right now, they're in high school. What path do I want to take from a career perspective? Is tech for me? Is it, should I be doing something else? So what brought you into the field, and why did you study computer science?
So yeah, just I guess we could start in high school because we could go further back, but I'll start at high school.
Okay.
I had close relationships with upperclassmen when I was a freshman, sophomore, and these upperclassmen were going into computer science. They had already gotten like their offer letters from the colleges they wanted to go to, and they were studying computer science. And seeing that in my early years of high school kind of influenced me a lot,
Okay.
and it made me interested in because around that time, computer science was a big buzzword. I feel like now it's kind of it's still a buzzword, but it's diluted down a little bit recently. The market for computer science. So that's what really kind of grabbed my attention as like a young, impressionable high school student. So seeing my friends all doing it, and then um, just kind of having like this background, this interest in technology in general.
Yeah.
Um, that's what led me to being like, hey, I should do that. I should focus in
Yeah.
on that. I didn't really know too much about other like career paths, like cybersecurity or you know network
Yep.
administration, system administration, things like that. That was the only one that I really hyper focused on. So,
Got
you
it.
know, going into college, learning different languages, Python, C++, I kind of found myself like deep into that computer science path.
Okay.
Um, so if so, the question that you asked, like as like a high school student, you know, being uncertain of like what you want to do is perfectly okay. Like there's nothing wrong at that point in your life with not knowing what you want to do for the rest of your life, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of kids stress about that, but um, there's a lot of resources waiting for you. like at the start of the tunnel. You know, when you start college, there's a lot of resources there for students, you know, who are unsure, and there's plenty of time. So
Yeah,
I definitely wouldn't stress too much about it.
good. No, it's some great advice. So technology is ever changing. Every day it's something new, right? How do you personally keep up with technology? That's something that I love asking people because I'm always trying to keep up. I mean, obviously between podcasts and newsletters, what do you find the most use to keep up with the ever changing arena that we're in?
Say lately, it's been LinkedIn, surprisingly.
Oh,
Feel like I find myself on LinkedIn a lot, just like
okay,
looking at like what's been posted by like the creators that I follow. One
yeah,
of the big creators I follow is David Bombal. He's like a cybersecurity expert over in, I think he's based in the UK, and
hmm,
he'll drop a bunch of his former content in short form. So he'll drop like a bunch of little nuggets of wisdom, I like to call it, on just like, you know, hey, um, this is what like a vampire. I learned what a vampire tap was recently through him, which is like a very old like form of like network eavesdropping. Like that was pretty
yeah,
cool. And just like I know that's not keeping up to date, that's pretty out of date, but
yeah,
little things like that, you know, that I didn't know before. And it's just like, oh, that's interesting.
yeah,
You know, networking information that I'm using and keeping with me as I prepare for other certs that I'm looking towards. Um, Other than that, um, before David, it was Linus Tech Tips. He's a very popular YouTuber
yeah,
that I'd watch like in high school when I was building my first computer, and I still watch him now just to learn about, you know, new
yeah,
things coming up and emerging.
yeah,
Um, but mainly through social media, I'd say for sure.
yeah. Got it. Okay. In thinking back with the classes and your studies at the university, how did those apply or not apply to the real world now that you've been in the trenches with guys like me and the rest of the team, and you know you have been awesome. You're managing multiple clients and you know seeing all these different environments. The stuff you learned in college, what applies, what doesn't apply to the real world?
I feel like the main thing that um, in college that was very like hammered into us is time management. Like that's a big thing
Oh,
that has transferred over, and just organization in general. Those two things, I mean, they seem pretty broad and kind of like, oh, something you overlook, but when especially in a help desk environment, you know, it can be very fast paced at times. And if you don't stay organized or if you don't manage your
mm-hmm.
time well, you know, you spend too much time on a ticket or you don't spend enough time on a ticket. Like you really have to kind of use the skills, use like, you know, the anxiety that you would get in college or from high school for like deadlines and assignments, and you have to
Yeah,
keep that with you. Not anxiety, but like that sense of urgency. You have to
yeah,
really work with a sense of urgency and efficiency and determination to like focus really hard on what you're doing and get it done. For sure, that's like a big thing in help desk.
yeah. There's highs and lows in our world, right? There's never just a median. I think like you know Friday afternoons we're kind of I don't want to say we're kicking back all the time, but Monday mornings are hopping, and without that
Yeah,
time management, you'll crash and burn in some cases. So that's an interesting one.
yeah, and
Out, yeah.
sorry,
No, no,
and
please go
just
ahead.
organization. Like get a good note taking software. That's like a
Yeah.
big thing. I recently, at the start of this year, like part of my New Year's resolution, you could say, I wanted to really do a better job at staying organized with just little notes I have on like, you know, the different clients that we have because it gets
Hmm.
really diverse, um, the types of issues that we face. So I downloaded this application, software called Obsidian. It's a note
Oh,
taking app,
okay.
and what I really like about it is how you can organize like different like folders and like containers, label them, you know, stick notes in there, stick more folders and folders, and then you could like search through everything. And like their search is really nice. It's really good, and it
Yeah,
beats writing on notepads for sure.
I'm old school. I've got my little notes, but yeah, no, I get it. That's good to know. Um, so outside of college, you were one of the few CTS people, and we always encourage people to do training. But I've noticed that you are very serious about continuing education and getting certifications. What certifications have worked, or have you worked towards rather? And then what have you achieved? And then what are you currently working on?
Yeah, so definitely in terms of what I have achieved,
Hmm.
not much, because I am pretty fresh in the industry. In terms of like certifications, um, what I try to make up for when it comes to my lack of certification is just my experience. Because in college, I did work I wouldn't call it a help desk role because I wasn't doing a lot of sitting. I was doing a lot of walking
Yeah,
around
yeah, yeah.
campus. But I worked as a classroom tech specialist, and basically every day I would get assigned certain buildings on campus. I would have to walk around these buildings with my uniform on, be available for any passerby, faculty, or students that needed help with something. But the main thing was like making sure like the AV equipment was like up to date and like
Got it.
working properly in like classrooms. Um,
Got it.
and being conscious of that and knowing that like help desk roles are very different from that, they're not
Hmm.
just AV equipment. There's a lot of different software that we're managing and we're supporting. Our manufacturing clients, a lot of them use visual, a lot of them are on SolidWorks. Tax firms, they're using QuickBooks, like just knowing like these programs in and out, like and the common troubleshooting steps for them.
Yeah,
That was something that I knew I had to kind of work towards a little
got
bit
it.
just to get my foot in the door, and that's why I worked towards the CompTIA A plus certificate. That was the
Got it.
certificate I had my eyes on going into my first role in IT for sure.
So you
Um,
do have your A plus certification, correct?
yeah, currently
Got it.
yes.
Yeah, and then you're working on what though now? Is it what's the next one in your career from a certification perspective?
Yeah. Yeah, so just talking with like Simon um, and like other guys in the team,
Hmm.
and I did know this going into this role as well, but the A plus, the CompTIA trifecta of the A plus, the Network Plus is another one, and the
Hmm.
Security Plus. That's like a very like staple sort of. Those are very staple certificates that every like technician should really try to like get as soon as
Yeah,
possible. That's the
yeah,
core of like the work that like we do here, help
yeah,
desk, networking, and security. That's very
yeah.
important. So those are
So
the
you're
next ones. Yep.
got it. So you're working towards your next certification would be the Network Plus one, correct?
Yeah, that's the one I'm
Got it.
working towards right now.
Okay, cool. So let's change it up a little bit, change gears. What do you like most about your career now that you've been in the tech field for call it almost 9 or 10 months? Actually, no, 7 months, whatever it's been. What do you like
I,
most about your career in tech?
yeah. There's so much. Like, I really just am so grateful to like be a point of like be a resource for like our clients. Like, it's very like rewarding. It's very just feels good in like my spirit to be able to help like the end users that like are reaching out to us day in and day out. Just being able to like successfully complete something for someone that's been bothering them for a while, or
Hmm.
um, something that like is reoccurring and rooting it out. Like being able to do that for a client is the one of the best feelings in the world, honestly. Like when
Okay.
it comes to like um the professional aspect of your life, like being able to do that for someone is awesome. And then on
Yeah.
top of that, just like talking with all the guys in the team, getting closer with everyone and working, in person and remotely with the guys has been awesome. Um,
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from them for sure,
Good.
and um, yeah, I've learned a lot from them. Like without them, it'd be a lot harder. Without like their great communication and like their willingness to like be there and support each other like in our time of need. Definitely would be unsure of like where I'm at right now, but because
Yeah.
of that, yeah, I'd say that's an awesome part of my job for sure.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So for those who don't know, we're 100% we work remote, but we make it a point to get together, whether it's like one or two techs that will work on a project together on site at a client. Obviously, we do our end of year summit, so we all get together for a couple days. But I think almost we try to do it either on a quarterly basis or like in trimesters where we just get a hotel room and all work together out of a not a hotel room, sorry, a conference room at a hotel, and right there's a table, nothing crazy, but it's important to have that face to face. And especially if I found that if I'm working on something or I'm engaged in and I'm stuck, it's so super easy to just grab a shoulder and say, hey, can I get another set of eyes on that? And that really helps. Obviously you could do that remotely, but there's a tip, some kind of a synergy that gets created when you're face to face, and I still believe that. So, given that, what have you found the most challenging entering into the tech space?
um, I'd say the most challenging part has been um, just how like diverse it gets. Like it's a good and bad thing, like how like diverse our different the different issues that like we come across as techs are.
Yeah,
You know, some of those harder things that took you a while to learn, like so it's a learning experience. And like when you're able to resolve it, like that's a very quick, piece of documentation that you make or a little note like uh, on your computer that you're like, hey, you see something like this again, like you resolve that. And
yeah,
I like being able to do that too. That's like a very like um, another satisfying part of our job, being able to like learn, actually like feel yourself like learning, feel your brain expanding, like just feel yourself like really learning these different issues and like how they work, how they come up, and then fixing them. But in that same breath, in that same line of thinking, it is a little stressful at times, I will say. Just having to like find an issue that like you've never seen before, and then taking some time to work on it, and
hmm
you know, trying to make sure that the end user doesn't get too upset that like it might be taking you a little bit longer.
hmm
Some of that as a new tech does get a little intense.
yeah,
Does get a little nerve wracking at times. I'd say recently I have gotten better with that. And what it all comes down to is communication.
hmm
Whether that's with your team or just letting the client know, like, hey, I'm not too sure about that right now, but I'll find an answer and I'll get back to you. Like
yeah,
those two things have been sort of the bread and butter for me. As like a
okay,
new technician, someone who isn't gonna know everything right away. So that's been like how I deal with that.
good. That's no, that's a really good point. I've always stressed, and you've heard me say, communication is key. Like, not everyone knows everything, but if you are keeping people in the loop, a simple project or an issue could take a couple days legitimately. If you're reaching out to, external, partners like Microsoft or Adobe or hardware, I mean, it could take a while. So that's important. So taking yourself back into May, you graduate college, you're all ready to join the workforce, going to tech, and you start applying for your first position. Talk to us about that process, what kind of challenges you encountered, and how you led yourself to the interview process and eventually picking what organization you're going to join.
I'd say probably the most difficult process or challenging aspect of the application process um, is a lot different nowadays. It's really getting past the I forgot the name of it.
Gatekeeper?
No, like the ADS, I think, automatic document scanning that a lot of
Oh, yep,
these application portals they feed your resume through. Like getting
yep,
past those is probably one of the things that will do the gatekeeping that will
yep,
gatekeep you from bigger organizations, especially bigger organizations that have that in place. If you're not making sure that your resume is up to date and includes relevant keywords from their resume, you won't
Mm-hmm.
even make it to the recruiter's eyes.
Yeah,
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 you won't make it
yeah.
to a human, and that's something that I learned after some trial and error, of course. In college, just applying for my first internships and whatnot. Just wondering, why am I not getting any responses? And
Nothing, right? Dead air. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and um, I'd say I have the student organization I was a part of during that time, and the mentors I had that kind of told me about those things and like little tricks to circumvent that. They put this here, rewrite this, make this sound a little more interesting,
Mm-hmm.
or I'll take a look at the application and put some keywords in there that you can fit in there. You don't want to lie and just
Yeah,
fluff it up for no reason, for sure. But
but you got to give yourself that opportunity. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
But yeah, that's probably the most difficult part about that process. And just honestly, it's going to be demoralizing at times. It really is. Like I applied to at certain points, I was applying to hundreds of places,
Yeah.
and that's a reality for a lot of college kids, especially when they're finding that first internship and they don't have a lot of experience, and then these places are asking for experience that you just don't have yet because you're trying to get your first bit of experience from them. So it becomes like
Correct.
this endless loop in a way. And
Yeah.
but for those kids struggling, just it's a numbers game. It really is. You just got to
Yeah.
keep going, and um, if it becomes too much, maybe stop and ask yourself, um, what am I missing potentially? What could I do to improve from here? Maybe it's a
Mm-hmm.
project, maybe it's a home lab. If you're trying to get into cybersecurity, um, things like that for sure.
No, that's a good point. Well, I remember interviewing you. So I've been doing this tech thing for way too long, right? For decades. And for those who don't know, there's something called the OSI model. If you don't know what it is, look it up. It's pretty interesting. And I like to when I do interviews, and I interviewed Anthony, I like to just get to know the person, right? Like I always tell people I could teach people the tech. Like that's the easy part, but what kind of communication skills do you have? What kind of people skills do you have? Are you the kind of person who can handle high pressure situations? All so I talk about that, but I do throw a couple technical scenarios your way. And Anthony, kudos to you. I've never met anyone in 25 years in the business that applied what's called the OSI model to solving a network issue. And I was always impressed. I tell people that story that I love the way you do your troubleshooting. You do it textbook, but with some finesse. And I think that is why our clients give you the kudos that they do and the five out of 5 star ratings. It allows you to jump in to scenarios that you don't know about, but you utilizing the framework and the bedrock of problem solving, and it gets you to the solution quicker than some other people. And that's really a testament to the schooling that you've done and your commitment to your career and I think your love for the technical field. So I love that. I had such like I got off the phone with you that day and I'm like, wow, I've never met anyone who actually follows the true troubleshooting to a T, and it works for you, man. It does. So yeah, so
Thank you.
awesome.
I
Yeah,
really appreciate that. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. Well, Anthony, if you don't have anything else, I think we'll wrap this up. I want to thank you for the idea. I think that there's a lot of people like I said, my 2 boys, they're in high school. They're looking, hey, what are the next steps after college? And then once college is done, how do you get your foot into, to start your career? And this is, I think, very helpful for anyone out there who's looking. I mean, it is March, so people are going to be graduating college, looking for
Yeah.
summer internships. Um, their first job really in their 4 to 5 decade career. So hopefully a lot of people get interest out of this. So hope you enjoyed this as much as I did, and thank you much, Anthony.
Thank you so much, Frank. Thank you for
Yeah,
having me. And yeah, thank you so much. It was very fun.
very cool. So everyone, thank you for watching this. I appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share out. and we will talk to you soon. Thank you, everyone. Take care.